Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cropper here. I believe I'm live. Yes, very good. All right, we're going to go over lefty philosophy. He's got an introductory video where he introduces himself, and I reckon he hasn't been seen before or some such thing like that.
Hey guys, it's Lefty Philosophy, formerly known as DCM God. I decided to change my name to better represent the ideas I wish to convey on this channel. Those ideas are mainly going to be ones that present an alternative to the right's foothold on YouTube and basically all of society right now. Stop. I know you're going to say that lefties control everything and make yourself look foolish, but just relax. The right controls almost every aspect of policy making as of right now, from the highest court in the land to the majority of local municipalities.
All right. The right has control of everything. Everything. And the left doesn't have control of nothing. The left is screwed right now, he says. The left has control of the universities, the deep state, the FBI, the CIA, the press, the media, all the big tech companies, Google, Facebook, YouTube. The left has all those guys in an absolute stranglehold. And he says the right controls society. So he has Trump derangement syndrome, clearly. I mean, the left have destroyed our university system. Virtually every single university in the land is a basket case of riots and mobs.
It is dominating YouTube and directing our youth towards a society full of misinformation.
Yeah, the left is directing us towards misinformation, you see? All right, well, now he says that the right is dominating YouTube. That is funny. I mean, the left owns YouTube. But to the extent that the right dominates YouTube and Facebook, right? We dominate with memes because the left can't meme. The left can't meme because you have to be able to point out some little piece of truth in your meme, all right? As Even64 pointed out in one of our things the other day. Comedy having a turn of truth somewhere in it, and the left being systemic liars are not able to meme. All right, what else? Let's go.
The arguments. I started this channel because I have 3 kids. I see how media influences them, and I understand the importance of it in our future and theirs. The Overton window has shifted so far to the right.
So he says he started the channel because he has 3 kids and he sees how the media influences them. Then he says the Overton window has shifted so that Bernie Sanders
seems as he's an extreme leftist.
He seems like he's an extreme leftist. He's not. Bernie Sanders supports capitalism. Did you know that? Did you know he's not a leftist?
He supports capitalism.
Bernie Sanders supports capitalism. Did you know that? He's not a socialist. He's not a lefty. The Overton window has just moved really, really far so that Bernie Sanders, who's a capitalist, supports socialism in these twisted idiots' minds. A capitalist has actually become a socialist, says lefty philosophy. Bernie Sanders actually supports capitalism. Does he?
It's time the left finds a way to connect to people and promotes our ideas that are easily digestible.
Now, if he's on the left and Bernie Sanders is far right, where the hell is this guy? Holy shit, are you kidding me?
Understandable. I'm a United States Army veteran with a Purple Heart.
That scares me, that he could go in the Army, be in the Army, get out of the Army, and still be a leftist cuck. That scares me. I wonder what's going on in the Army.
I have a bachelor's in government, specializing in political philosophy, with a minor in business from the University of Texas at Austin.
The fact that he's been through college and has degrees doesn't surprise me at all. I wonder if he went into college as a fairly upstanding veteran and came out of college as a leftist cuck. I wonder what the history of that is. But I doubt it, because if you can think for yourself when you go into college, then it doesn't do as much damage to you. Cucks who go into college come out total cucks.
I've held jobs from all across the spectrum, including starting my own company from scratch. I sold it to focus more on my family a couple years ago. I have an incredible amount of real-world experience and an academic background to match it up. I hope you enjoy this journey through leftist thought that we go on together. I hope that even if you disagree with me,
So I guess he's just saying he's held a lot of jobs, so he's qualified in the world, and he has degrees, so he's qualified in academia. Now, we've done some stuff on lefty philosophy. Was it Critique of Ayn Rand or something? And boy, oh boy, is he a garbage thinker.
Have conversations that will bring about a better understanding of the world around us.
Let's have conversations that will bring about a better understanding of the world around us. And I'm going to do that by going through your videos and pointing out sentence by sentence every single mistake you make every step along the way. And that, I hope, will contribute to a conversation where we understand each other better.
And create a better society for all.
Create a better society for all. Not for the individuals, though. Just for society. All right, well, that is Who is Lefty Philosophy. We got to that when it had only 11 views. Brand new video there. The free market myth and why free markets will never exist.
I hear a lot about how deregulation is the savior of all things.
If we deregulate everything, then we will be in a system of anarchy and etc. They equate a free market with the Platonic idea of freedom, detached from reality. When we go, oh, Brother John, hello, Brother John. Hey, I'm trying to do Google Hangouts again, and I don't know how to get it all started, so I'm just doing one of these. Welcome, Brother John. So they are doing the free market thing, saying that free markets are impossible because they want a Platonic, floating, rationalistic, divorced from reality type of freedom. The free market would have to be free in some bizarre way, and as long as they can point to some aspect of it that they think isn't free in some bizarre way, then it's not actually a free market. It's limited or something like that. Like you can't sell socks to gremlins on the moon, so you're not free in your market. Really, really stupid, bad stuff like that.
Got a child that won't go to bed? Well, we had deregulated markets. Can't figure out how to open child-proof packaging? Well, if we had deregulated markets. Can't figure out why my wife is mad at me? Well, we had deregulated markets. It seems this.
All right, he's making a straw man there. Deregulation is the how we solve everything.
This becomes the answer to anything and everything.
Regulation kills jobs. Deregulation kills job holders. When we deregulate, it's bad for the people who have jobs, he says. We make more jobs. Would he at least admit that we make more jobs? But they die. The people who have jobs die when we deregulate. The only thing protecting us from dying is the government then. The free market would just kill us all, right? Now, so let's just take one example. Ventilation systems in a mine, in a coal mine, let's say, fresh air coming in. At some point, that became a regulation. You've got to have X amount of free, fresh air coming in free. X amount of fresh air coming into the mine, or else you fail. And so you would have to shut the mine down, and you have to pay some big fines or something. To succeed, you have to have a fresh air supply coming into your mine. So we deregulate, and then maybe this mine or that mine shuts it off, and he says that causes the death of people. Well, then the mine would be held responsible, and then that would go to court. So that's ridiculous. But what does he take for granted in that scenario? The fact that we had these systems that brought fresh air into the mine. Where did they come from? Did the government just regulate those into existence? The government just said, we need fresh air stuff. Now, why didn't they do that in the 1860s? What the stupid government should have been more progressive and should have just regulated in the 1860s that coal mines need to have enormous electric fans pumping fresh air in. It would have saved thousands and thousands of lives. Why didn't they make those regulations sooner? Oh, well, because society had to create the wealth first for the government to make any regulation about it. You see, regulation is not the source of our wealth, our well-being, our freedom. Our wealth is a source of our, freedom is our source of our wealth, but regulation is just people messing around and interrupting it. If you think that it's good to have whatever safety devices you want, then get the government out of it, because the government doesn't create that stuff.
Many people on the right talk about small government and laissez-faire principles in the market. There is one major problem with this thinking. They are purely theoretical and cannot exist in the real world. Why? Well, let us dive into it. Capitalism and the free market. Capitalism is defined as an economic system in which there is private ownership over the means of production.
An economic system characterized by private or corporate ownership. Now, what's the difference between private ownership and corporate ownership? I wonder, but whoever wrote this definition does not understand the difference. Nazi Germany had corporate ownership of the means of production, right? So that would be defined as capitalism under this definition. So that's bad. Or corporate ownership of capital goods by investments that are determined by private decisions and by prices, production, and the distribution of goods that are determined mainly by competition in a free market. Mainly by competition. See, what kind of a definition is that? If you can't get the essentials right in your definition, then you don't have a definition. If you're hedging your bet by saying other things like private or corporate and saying mainly by competition, goods are determined mainly by the distribution of goods are determined mainly by competition in a free market. That's not really true, is it? The distribution of goods is determined freely by the citizenry, not by competition. Like if you want to make things and give them out to people for free, who are you competing with? You know, but you're free to do that in a free society. Here's one thing that people misunderstand about capitalism. They say it's the system of profits. You know, it's not. It's the system that allows you to make a profit and do the best with your profit. Every system is essentially a system of profits because you have to make more money than you spend, even if the government you're under is Soviet or monarchy or whatever. Everybody is in a system where they have to make a profit. Capitalism is simply that system where you're free to do what you want with your profits, where you can do the best and the most with your profits, where you can grow with your profits, and you don't have to use your profits for whatever else it's paying off the state or whatever. So, capitalism is not the system of profit. It is a system of freedom. It is not a system where where the distribution of goods is determined by competition. It is a system where the distribution of goods is determined freely by individuals. So it says competition in a free market. Competition is not an essential of capitalism. Competition is one of the, so that is here given as an essential in the definition. So, all right, so it's a bad definition.
Operation for profit. It is built around the idea of a market economy where decision-making and investment are determined by every owner of wealth, property, or production ability in financial and capital markets, whereas prices and the distribution of goods and services are mainly determined by competition in goods and service markets. What you will hear from the right is that the freer the market, the freer the people. A completely unregulated market has to meet certain conditions in order for it to be considered free.
Now whatever he's saying, don't worry about it for a second. Let's look at this picture. The unrestricted hand of the free market is a man whipping a slave. Now, if the free market means that every single individual in that market is free to do as they please and no one can coerce anybody else and you have to deal with each other voluntarily, if that's what we mean by a free market, then why would he put a picture up there of a man whipping another man? How is that everybody dealing with everybody voluntarily? So he is a
These conditions set a theoretical framework to allow a concept known as pure or perfect competition. Pure or perfect competition.
All right. There we go. As I started out, I said they have a Platonic, floating, rationalistic idea of what freedom is and what a free market would be. And as long as you can point to any single little thing that isn't free.
See, perfect competition is
all firms sell an identical product. All firms are price takers. They cannot influence the market price of their product. Market share has no influence on prices. What's he saying here?
Defined as the theoretical market structure in which the following criteria are met. All firms are price takers.
Market share has no influence on prices. Resources for such a labor are perfectly mobile. Firms can enter or exit the market without cost. Wow, that's rainbow la la land. What is he saying? These are some really strange things here. What's he saying about this?
Competition is defined as the theoretical market structure in which the following criteria are met. All firms are or perfect competition. Pure or perfect competition. See, perfect competition is defined as the theoretical market structure in which the following criteria are met.
So in perfect competition. So unless it meets these standards, you don't have a situation of competition. You have coerced competition or imperfect competition. You have not achieved your goal of competition. How would we fail at achieving our goal of having competition in a capitalist society? And now we have some deformed facsimile of it, but not actual competition. We could fail in this way. He says we need to have it such that all firms sell an identical product. So Ford would have to be selling Chevys, and Chevy would have to be selling Chevys, and Dodge would have to be selling Chevys, and Toyota would have to be selling Chevys. So that would be perfect competition if everybody were selling the same car. Now I can think of where that happened. They did that in Soviet Russia. Every single dealership had the same car. That was perfect competition then. What kind of garbage is this? Oh, wait. All firms are price takers. They cannot influence the market price of their product. Now, in a situation of perfect competition, you can't influence the market price of your product. Now, does Apple have any influence over the market price of its iPhone? I mean, it may not have influence on what people are willing to pay, but it certainly has influence on the pricing, doesn't it? But he says that you can't have influence on the pricing of your products. The market would have to set the price of the product? What would that be? You see, that's divorced from reality. What does it mean for the market to set the price, but the person who makes the product can't influence the price? So how would they change the price? They would set it according to what the market says, but they have no influence on it. How can they do anything to it? They cannot influence the market price of their product. So the market gets to determine the price. How? In what way? So how do we move the price up and down and set the price if the firms take the price? What does that mean? You see, that is very confused. All right. So the first thought was garbage. The second thought is garbage. Third thought, market share has no influence on prices. So in a perfect competition, the percent of the market that you own doesn't have any relation to the price that you charge. So if you owned 99% of the market for a given thing, you shouldn't be able to raise or lower your price. That should be irrelevant. Now it seems to me if you're only selling 1% of the cars in America, you probably shouldn't raise your prices drastically. That wouldn't help, right? And if you're selling 99% of the cars in America, it seems like you're doing a really good job. People really like your product, so you probably could inch the price up a bit. You could probably inch the price up quite a ways and maybe fall down to 98 or 97% and make a lot more money. Why should the amount of share of the market not influence your prices? Oh, because this would be perfect competition. Okay. So when the share of the market influences prices, that is distorted, bad, non-perfect competition. Woo! Okay. Buyers have complete or perfect information. See? Again, with the Platonic ideals. In the past, present, and future about the product being sold and the prices charged by each firm. So you have to be omniscient. You have to have all information, not only about the past and present, but even the future, which can't be known. You would have to have all of that information in order for perfect competition to occur. Lefty philosophy, you are a moron, dude. How about the next one? In order for us to have perfect competition, resources for such a labor are perfectly mobile. Resources for such a labor are perfectly mobile. Non-grammatical word salad. Resources for such a labor are perfectly mobile. Such a labor, meaning the labor of the previous point. Buyers have perfect information. All right, it's word salad. I can't deduce what's going on there. The next one, firms can enter or exit the market without cost. Well, wouldn't that be lovely? Perfect competition would mean that you could go start manufacturing automobiles without any cost. It wouldn't cost you anything. Or you could shut down your plant, fire all the factory workers, cancel all the contracts you had for buying steel and coal and electricity for the next 6 months or 5 years. Just drop all that at no cost and just shut down your factories. You should enter or exit the market without costs. That would be perfect competition. So once we have all that machinery of bizarre things in place, including people being able to enter and exit business without spending a penny, once all that's in place, then we would have perfect competition. Okay. Now, let me say that competition is one of the details that happens inside of a free economy, right? You open up a candy store and you're selling your candy, and somebody else opens up, okay, let's do it simple and say someone else opens up another candy store. But that's not the whole picture. What if they don't open a candy store? What if they open a health food store? What if they take your sales and they are now selling apples and bananas, and you're over there with your sweet candy and rock candy, and no one's buying it? They're buying this. See, you're in competition against more than people selling candy. Competition is just one of the things that you're free to do in a capitalist economy. Competition is not some sort of platonic floating ideal in a free economy. It is not like the essence. It is not like the basic principle. It's just something you're free to do if you want to. Now, you don't even have to compete if you don't want to, right? You can open up a store, and as soon as you feel pressure from other people, shut it down, right? You can open up a store and do no advertising and just take the people who walk in off the street, and maybe you just eke along and pay your bills. In what sense are you really competing with the people who are out there and have people on the streets with flyers and they've got advertisements on TV and radio? You're competing with them, or are you just running your business and they're out there trying to get more business, and somebody comes along and says that this is competition? They call it competition, but competition is just the sum total of what the individuals do, some of them putting more effort in than others and getting more share of the finite amount of business in society on a given day than others. So competition will confuse a rationalist. Apparently, it has fried his brain cells beyond recognition. He's got a list of things here that he wants in order that we can have competition. People can't compete with each other if it costs money to get into business. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard since yesterday.
All firms are price haters. They cannot influence the market price of their product. Market share has no influence on price. Buyers have complete or perfect information in the past, present, and future about the product being sold and the prices charged by each firm.
I agree.
Resources such as labor are perfectly mobile, and firms can enter or exit the market without any cost. Under perfect competition,
now I get. So he said resources are perfectly mobile. That means that you can move stuff around without cost. You can enter and exit business without cost, and resources are perfectly mobile. There's no cost in moving them. which is platonically bizarre nonsense.
And firms can enter or exit the market without any cost. Under perfect competition, there needs to be a large number of buyer and sellers. These sellers would be small firms and not.
So under perfect competition, he wants a large number of buyers and sellers, but they have to sell an identical product. That is so strange. What is his idea? Now, what is he talking about here? Is he trying to destroy capitalism and say that perfect competition is not possible? He's defining it out of existence. He says you have to all sell the same product and there have to be many, many of you, and your price has to be identical, and there has to be no cost for you to enter or exit business.
Multinational corporations that control pricing through supply. They would all sell product with minimal differences.
Now, the title of this garbage crap video is The Free Market Myth and Why They Will Never Exist. He is not talking about free markets. He is talking about his Platonic fantasy rationalist definitions of some garbage nonsense in his head. And he is certainly not proving why free markets will never exist. He's not even talking about reality. He's just got a list of bizarre Platonic floating abstractions, and he's playing with them.
In quality, features, and pricing that buyers cannot distinguish between products based upon non-functional factors, like branding and color. As of today, we have large corporations.
It's a good question here. Why does toilet paper need a commercial? Who is not buying this? Right? So we really shouldn't have commercials for toilet papers, really, if we were rational, because toilet paper is being purchased by everybody already. Well, you forget that there is a company selling toilet paper that wants to sell its toilet paper, and they would rather not see that company over there selling their toilet paper. So they put up an advertisement. Now that just blows his hippie noodle. How can we have competition when one company is advertising and the other company is not? Well, maybe that is the competition. Maybe you're seeing the competition right before your eyes. He says, no, can't have that in competition. Got to wipe that out. Then we can have perfect competition. If we wipe out all of the concretes of actual competition in real life, then we would be left with platonically perfect competition. That's just stupid. This is just stupid stuff. Lefty philosophy, you are just a stupid moron. Do we have to keep going?
In which a handful of companies own the majority of all products that are sold. This makes for a few number of sellers. The fact that economic nationalism has increased means that the pool of buyers is decreasing as we shy away from the global economy. In addition, if buyers do not have enough disposable income...
All right, do buyers have pull? And he says the buyers are losing their pull because there are fewer and fewer sellers, so the sellers are winning. How much power do these people have? Like, how afraid of them should we be? I mean, go back in the 1980s and list all the big companies that you were afraid of, that you thought were big corporations that were on the move, that were doing nasty bads, you know, and I'm sure IBM's going to be right at the top of your list. And where is IBM today? You know, and go into the 1990s, and everybody was upset in the 1990s about Netscape and Alta Vista, right? Because everybody was using Alta Vista for the search engine in the early 90s. Everybody. Alta Vista was the only search engine. Everybody was upset that there's only one search engine, Alta Vista. Everybody's got to use Alta Vista. And then, so there's whatever you're threatened by, whatever company you think is out of control and is massive and is doing a huge bad thing, just go forward 10 or 20 years and you'll see that it's been replaced by other companies usually doing other things. Right? IBM was not replaced by a company that made borderline crap computers. It was replaced by dozens of companies that make handheld phones and tablets and laptops. That's what replaced them. So any company you're worried about that's coercing the buyers because there are fewer companies, those companies are going to disappear and melt in no time. Don't worry about them. I mean, if you are worried about them, just give me an example where there's a problem. Of course, he can't give an example. He's just saying overall, society has this problem where there are less companies sometimes. Now, why is that a problem? He can't concretize it. He won't concretize it.
Then they effectively cannot buy many goods. Therefore, an economy has to be doing well in order to realize this condition. Another aspect of perfect competition is something called perfect information. It's a concept in which everything that can be possibly known about a product is right there and accessible. This allows consumers to make the...
Now, this type of Platonic rationalistic thinking is what is behind insider trading, because you have more information than somebody else, and that's not fair. Now, the whole market is based on the fact that you have more information than somebody else, and that's not fair. That's the whole reason the market works. So when you go in and you try to make it illegal to trade on information that other people don't have, that is destruction. That is nihilism. Now, there can be some subcategory of that, which is like fraud, you know, where we could prosecute somebody for selling, like let's say they sell shares in their company under the pretext that these shares are still valuable, when in fact we could prove in a court of law that they knew that those shares were no longer valuable. So they deceived the person they sold them to, right? Now that's what they use insider trading laws for, is stuff like that. But we don't need insider trading laws for that. We already have, you know, that would be fraud. That would be a case of fraud. So they because of cases like that, they defined insider trading, and now they use it all over the place. Any place that somebody acts with information that other people don't have fits the definition of insider trading. So now it's a travesty of justice, when they could have just used fraud laws. And the source of all this problem is Platonic thinking about perfect information, and how many people have information, whether or not it's fair for somebody to have more information than other people or not. You know, you can never do away with the differentiation in information. Even if there's some billionaire out there who is buying and selling oil by millions of barrels, and I, Mr. Cropper, get on there with $5,000 and I'm buying and selling and trading, who's to say that I don't have more information or better information than that billionaire? Maybe he's a statist cuck who doesn't understand, you know, the coming of fracking. He doesn't know what fracking is going to do. But I, Mr. Cropper, as a free market economist, see what's going on in North Dakota, and I realize that fracking is going to change the whole picture over the next 5 years. So I get in there and make $1 million on 5,000, where he, over that same period, lost $500 million in his companies and holdings. So you're never going to get rid of differentiation in information. And it is what makes the market work. So to attack it and have a law against it is nihilism.
Best educated choices. Perfect information is in fact just a theory and cannot actually be produced in our current structure.
No.
Why? 1, time and energy. It takes way too much time and energy.
So this is how Platonic he is. He says we cannot have perfect knowledge because, and he's actually going to analyze why we are not omniscient. Now, I may do more videos about him in the future, but let's just let this one stand at that point there. The free market myth and why they will never exist is not that free markets are not being addressed in this, and any look at why a free market fails is not being addressed in this. He's addressing Platonic, floating, bizarre, rationalistic ideas that are detached from reality and floating around in his head. So there you are. Lefty philosophy. Go check him out if you want. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cropper is ending this stream. Thank you for joining me. Maybe we'll do another one of these soon. This was fun.